What's up, barbecue people? Welcome to Amateur Backyard Barbecue. My name's Adam Brukas. This is a brand new channel that I put together to aim at people who want to learn to cook amazing barbecue on a budget. I am by no means a barbecue expert. I've been doing this for just over a year now, cooking awesome American style barbecue on a cheap little offset smoker that I got from the range for like 80 quid. And so the point of this channel is really just to show people that you can cook incredible barbecue food without an enormous budget or without loads of expensive equipment. When I first started out, there wasn't a lot of advice around for people using this kind of cheap offset smoker. For the most part, a lot of it was aimed at small but still quite expensive starter pits, something like an Oklahoma Joe's that might set you back 400 or 500 quid. But for a lot of people, that kind of money's not an option when you're starting out, especially when you don't know what you're doing. As I said, I'm by no means an expert, so I'll be learning as I go. And at the very least, if I make mistakes, then you guys will learn from them too. We're gonna kick things off with one of the easiest barbecue items around, and that is smoked chicken breast. It's one of the easiest things to get right and one of the hardest things to screw up. And it's cheap. First thing we're gonna do is prep the chicken, but for that, we gotta go back in time to last night. There's a cat. He wants food. Alright folks, if you don't know what this is, you're probably not ready for barbecue. This is of course chicken breast, and the first thing I'm going to do is dry brine it, which is basically a fancy word for cover it in salt and put it in the fridge overnight. What the salt's going to do is draw all the moisture out of the chicken, and then that's going to mix with the salt and the chicken's going to draw all that juice back in. And that's just going to help the chicken to retain moisture during the cook and to get the flavor of the salt right deep into the meat. I'm just using some basic Cornish sea salt flakes. Flakes are the best because the crystals are too big, and table salt usually has too much sodium in it. Just remember to flip them over and get both sides. As you can see, I already did that and I just forgot to film it. In the fridge, these go overnight. All right, folks, it is day 2, the day of the cook, and it's time to check on our dry brine chicken. As you can see, all the salt flakes have been absorbed into the chicken, which is exactly what we're looking for. In classic British style, it is pissing with rain outside, but chicken doesn't take very long to cook, so we've got plenty of time today, and it'll just give us more time for the seasoning to set. All right, folks, it's time to get some seasoning on this here chicken. We're gonna keep it real simple, sticking with just black pepper and garlic powder. Now we've got a few options for black pepper. It seems you can only really get 2 different kinds here in the UK. You've either got your ground black pepper or your coarse ground black pepper, neither of which are really right for this kind of cook. The ground black pepper just has a habit of clumping up because it's very fine and powdery, whereas the coarse black pepper is a little bit too heavy for this kind of cook. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take just a little bit of this coarse black pepper and I'm going to grind it down in the pestle mortar, just so it's a little bit easier to spread and it doesn't overpower the flavor of the chicken. As you can see, it doesn't really make a huge difference, but it does make it a little bit finer. Just going to sprinkle this nice and evenly over the surface. Obviously remember to flip it over and get both sides. Now we're going to go in with some garlic granules. It's better to go in with granules than powder because, like the black pepper, the powder just kind of clumps. Again, just a nice even coat all over the whole thing. I'm probably not going to bother doing the underside with this because you just kind of lose it all on the grill anyway. And there you have perfectly seasoned chicken breast ready for the smoker. Chicken is one of the easiest things to do for a first cook. It normally comes with the skin off, so you don't need to worry about trimming it or cleaning it up or anything like that. With that done, it's about time to clean out the pit. And a fire going! You know, I promised myself I wasn't going to fill this video with Lord of the Rings references. The filthy lie! This may not be the most efficient way of doing this, but it's the way I've chosen. I'm using a charcoal chimney to get things going. If you don't have one, I definitely recommend getting one. These are looking beautiful. Seasonings have plenty of time to set and they smell amazing. So the temperature on the pit is sitting right around 200 to 300 Fahrenheit. That's not very specific, but it's because the thermometers that you get built in with these cheap pits, they're not very reliable. So my method tends to be, instead of focusing on getting everything cooked properly on the pit, I just kind of use it to get the cook moving, get some of that smoke flavor into the meat, and then I'll worry about finishing off and bringing it up to temperature in the oven later on. The plan is going to be to cook the chicken breast for about 2 hours on the pit, at which point we'll take it off, wrap it in foil, drench it in butter, and stick it in the oven for another hour on about 120 Celsius. And that should just be enough to bring it up to temperature, make sure it's safe to eat, but also cooked nice and slow with plenty of flavor. I'm just using oak splits for this cook today. Obviously different woods pair better with different meats, but oak is a pretty good all-rounder. Also, these are seasoned logs, which is better than kiln dried because it means they'll have the right amount of moisture in them. It can be a bit difficult to find a decent supplier, but it's absolutely worth it. Alright folks, we are about an hour into this cook. The chicken is looking beautiful and golden brown, but it's looking a little bit dry, so I'm going to give it a spritz with this. This is just apple cider vinegar with a little bit of water in a nice cheap spray bottle. And that's going to help the smoke to stick to it while it cooks. Let's close the lid, and we'll check back on that in a little bit. This is what happens, by the way, when you leave your lid open for too long. You lose all your heat very, very quickly, so you know. Alrighty folks, we are 2 hours into this cook and these babies are ready to come off the pit. They're looking fantastic. If we leave them on any longer, they're probably just going to dry out. So I'm going to take them off, wrap them in foil and put them in the oven. So what I'm just doing here is folding the foil over to create a bit of a thicker base because this stuff is kind of cheap. It's not very thick. Give them a quick spritz with a bit more of the apple cider vinegar. Then what I'm going to do, nice big dollop of butter on each one. Kind of the key when you're dealing with lean meats like chicken or turkey, to keep them nice and moist in the oven. Wrap them up nice and tight and stick them in the oven. Set in the oven to 120 degrees Celsius, which is about 250 Fahrenheit. Into the oven these guys go for the next hour. Alrighty folks, these came out of the oven about an hour ago and I've just been letting them rest ever since. Always remember, it's important to let them rest so that the meat can reabsorb some of the juices they would have lost during the cook. Let's take a look and see how they came out. Beautiful, lovely golden brown color, beautiful bark. Now you absolutely could slice these up and eat them now and they would taste absolutely incredible, but what I like to do is actually put them in the fridge and leave them overnight and instead try them tomorrow when they'll be refrigerated, because in my honest opinion the chicken just tastes so much better when it's cold. I don't know what it is or what it does, but it just creates an incredible soft texture in the meat. So that's my recommendation of how to enjoy these. It also means that they make a great option for lunches during the week, whereas a lot of other meats probably aren't great for that kind of thing because they're not as good cold. I've served these up at barbecues alongside beef short ribs, pulled pork, venison, a whole bunch of amazing stuff that's always really good hot. And even cold, this stuff is always a showstopper. So we're going to wrap these up and stick them in the fridge. Alrighty folks, it is day 3 and it is finally time to see how this chicken came out. So let's take a look. So these have been chilling in the fridge since last night, and by now all the juices would have been reabsorbed. The chicken's had plenty of time to soften, rest, and it should be incredible. So let's open this up and take a look. Look at that, absolutely incredible. Well, I'm not gonna waste any time. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Got an incredible bark on there. Look at the texture as well. Watch this. You don't get this with normal chicken. Thumbprints. Oh man, that's good. Cooked all the way through. Nice, perfect color. It's peppery, garlicky, just the right amount of salt. What more do you need? So you guys might have noticed I didn't really use a thermometer during this cook, and for me it's just because I've done it so many times that I know what I'm looking for, mostly just based on the color. But if you do need to check for the temperature, you're looking at around 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 75 degrees Celsius for it to be safe to eat. But I find that 2 hours on the smoker at about 250, 275, and then an hour in the oven at about 250 Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius is usually enough to get it up to temperature, the perfect color, the perfect cook, the perfect texture, perfect chicken. That's really it for this recipe, folks, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.